This is 4624. Let's talk about it.
Here we are, 4624, with a brand new virtual look in a way.
Yeah,
Good. It's good to see you. We talk all the
good to see you
time, but
too.
I always like to see you. Now I'm sounding
Absolutely.
older. I'm not older. I'm a new age. Like, I think the whole thing about seeing somebody is you just understand the value of their presence. So
Right. Yeah.
I'm
I would
just
say
glad
that
to see you on here.
I think we just take advantage of it as we're younger. We just feel like we're gonna be here forever.
Yeah,
And as life progresses, you're like, man, your people, you want them to know that you love them.
for
You want
sure.
to put your eyes on them. Ain't nothing like you putting your eyes on somebody to see where they at, because they can tell you whatever over
Now
the phone.
putting your eyes on somebody, that's a throwback line. I
For
just
sure.
want to put my eyes on you.
For
That's
sure.
what mama always say to us. She say that to you, right? She said to
Absolutely.
me all the time. Just want to put my eyes on you.
Absolutely. Man, so today we're gonna talk about love and trauma. Do they go
Gosh.
hand in hand? I think for the most part, most of us have experienced trauma. Most of us as a people
Oh
have
yeah.
experienced trauma.
Hmm.
So I guess my question came from Taraji, the great actress that
Oh
she
yeah.
said that I read an article somewhere, I think it was a podcast or something, where she said that she's not interested in dating anyone's unhealed son anymore.
Wow.
So that
Wow.
made me start thinking about me and just different people. Like if you're out here dating,
Hmm.
if you talk to an individual and they express to you that they've had trauma during their childhood, is that a person that you should run from? Or
Hmm.
do you just try to listen to more of the story and try not to make judgment on them and just give it a chance?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's an interesting topic to me.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And even thinking about what she said, I'm not interested in dating anyone's unhealed son, which implies that she has anymore. Because she said, I'm no longer,
Mm,
meaning she's gone through a process of seeing what it's like to date someone who maybe has said they're on a healing journey, but perhaps they're not. Because if you're unhealed, that means you're not healing. So maybe they haven't even embraced that reality at all. So her thing is, I don't want to stand there at the cross section of you. Here I am, maybe. And then it also says something else. It says to me that she has some insight into a healing process because people who haven't been on a journey don't even talk like that.
yeah,
They
yeah,
just say something like, "He'd be on some other stuff. I can't do that." Like they don't talk about it from a perspective of knowing that a person is dealing with a unhealed aspect of themselves.
mm,
Like so, she. These are all our assumptions now, but from me just listening to that right there, it just says to me like she understands, can recognize maybe the difference between somebody who is really about this healing journey and somebody who's just unhealed and okay in it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I get all of that.
Yeah.
But I think it's like how like when you buy a house, I got to keep on flipping it to real estate some kind of way. But when you buy a
That's
house,
what you do.
we have underwriters. So the
Uh-huh.
underwriters are the ones that look at a person's file to
Hmm.
see if that person is going to be qualified to buy a house or
Right.
not. So
Hmm.
I think us as individuals, our people, if we perfect to becoming upfront underwriters of life and
Hmm.
relationships. So you can kind of see the red flags. A couple of years ago, they were talking about what's a red flag, what's a green flag. You can see
Yeah.
some of those red flags if you listen to people,
Yeah.
especially at the beginning of the dating situation or the relationship. People are free with whatever because they don't really have nothing to lose at that point.
True.
So if you listen, you can kind of see what those red flags are. I think people need a chance, but everybody, if you have kids, if you're a person that has kids,
Hmm.
and you're dating someone that has an edge to them, they have
Hmm.
a temper or something going on with, and it doesn't necessarily agree with your kids. Now, the
Hmm.
personal you may make that decision. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and ride this out and see where it take me. But if you have kids, you would think that people would think differently on that. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that all of this is like in an all perfect world type talk. Because I think in a lot of ways, people will present what they want you to see off top, but then when the pressure's on, you see what's really inside. So
Mhm.
I think if you present off top that you're this unhealed person and then there are kids involved, then it's automatically a no. But I think what ends up happening is people put on this presentation, they project what they think you want to see at the time, and then you start making an investment. And then you think about a house, sometimes you can't have buyer's remorse because everything looked right. It checked all the boxes, but then you get into it and you see, oh, what the land is built on, which is like kind of how trauma is. It's embedded in a thing. It's bad. Like we need to figure out like what are we gonna do with this? Like we're building on something that is kind of destined for doom in a way until it's cleaned out, until it's cleaned up, until something is done. So I think when it comes to kids, obviously the right mindset is to protect children, is to say this doesn't fit, we can't do this. But I think, and I've been having some conversations recently that let me know that it's not so cut and dry. And I could look at my life even and say it's not super cut and dry like that because hey, both me and you are children of trauma, of childhood trauma, and we're both married.
Mm.
So, what do our spouses have to say about that? And I didn't get married on the healing journey. I just got married and I was saved. I invited God into the marriage. I really asked God to help me because I felt like I kept choosing from a default. So I welcomed God into that process. And I would encourage people if you can do that, please do that. That is not even just trying to be religious. Oh, that's L. That's how she. It is being safe and sound. I strongly believe that it was very helpful. However, or in addition to that, it going on a self-awareness journey and then pivoting and going down the healing journey, it caused me to see that life with my spouse before then was not really good for my spouse. Like it
Mm.
had good points, but anytime there was any pressure or anything, I would always revert back to the default, which is how well meaning people can still be bad people
Yeah,
because they haven't dealt with the root of the problem. And
yeah.
that's just real. That's just being real. I'm glad my husband chose me and we trusted God through it all. But I feel like having the God factor in there led me to the point where I could really have a good marriage for real, not just in my mind. Because I
Well,
had the mind and I had the talk down and I had the willingness. But what was stored in my body was right there waiting to sabotage it all.
yeah. Yeah. To your point, we can answer that question probably the best because we did
Yeah,
come from childhood trauma. And in my case, my wife actually, she came from childhood trauma as well. So it's
right.
almost like double childhood trauma on both sides. What I can say is that it's not easy. It's not
Hmm.
easy at all because each other's triggers. There's so many of them, and it's difficult. And unfortunately, I don't think people really realize how difficult it is until you already done fell in love. You got
Yep.
kids, you have
Hmm.
property, you have all this stuff that you're building, and then you kind of can see that it can be challenging. But it does take God. It takes a
Yeah.
lot of love, a lot of understanding, and it takes God because childhood trauma, if we experience that, all that's really saying is that we saw a lot of ways of how you conduct yourself as an adult the wrong way.
Hmm.
So we have, and that's our default. So we have to be more intentional in terms of correcting that or making adjustments, even autocorrect. I'm big
Yep.
on that now. If I do
Hmm.
something that I feel like is wrong and I reflect on it, I try to make it right away. I don't want to wait too long because
Hmm.
time is not on anybody's side. We're getting older. So I
Yeah.
try to adjust it. I'm going. So I felt like this was an interesting topic because I just think a lot of people don't court long enough like they used to
Oh
back in
yeah.
the day. So you don't even
Hmm.
know what you're getting Anybody
Mm-hmm.
can quick flex on you, especially if
Mm-hmm.
you're one that a person wants. You may be making the type of money or have the type of lifestyle somebody wants, and they're gonna play that role or that part until they get what they want. And
Mm-hmm.
then voila, once they get what they want, now you get to see the mask come off and you get to
Yep.
see the real them. But now we
Mm-hmm.
got kids involved. We got all this stuff involved. So it's a lot
Yep.
of people I feel like they just maybe it's just something about that person where they just can't stop talking to them and they just really intrigued by that person.
Yeah.
Or something, but they can't let it go once they get a hold of them. What's your thoughts on that? I just don't understand what that is. Once you fall in love with somebody, you know they toxic,
Mm-hmm.
but you still rolling with the abuser. And
For
because
sure.
because you just like what they putting down, but you know that they might be good to you, but they're not good for you. There's a difference.
Yeah. And human nature craves comfortability. And so a lot of times we have built maybe a life around this, and leaving somebody or something is not as comfortable as it is to maybe stay in a situation that you think you can navigate a little bit. Like leaving somebody takes something. You may not be living in the same place anymore. You may not be living in the same city anymore. It's a grieving process to leaving somebody when you're well vested in a situation.
Mm,
And I was having a conversation recently with someone who had been in an abusive relationship for some decades. And the person just really told me, bottom line is, in their mind, they kept thinking that they would be able to change this individual.
mm,
Like maybe the first time or so, they just kind of snapped, and the person might say something like, my bad, I really came from just a bad place in my childhood. I'm trying to work it out. And so the person stayed because they loved them and thought that they would be able to change them.
mm.
But what they found out was trauma doesn't sit in our minds. Trauma is embedded in our bodies. And it comes from the heart, because out of the heart flows the issues of life. That's scriptural right there. So if we think about it, the way the person was behaving wasn't going to be changed by their head saying they're going to stop doing that. It had to be a processing of that pain in their heart, and they weren't willing to do that. So ultimately, what happened? The person did not change. The abuse did not change. And ultimately, the one who was waiting had to leave for their own safety, their own sanity, and all that. But it took a while. And I asked them, I said, why is it just not so cut and dry? Bad situation, get out of there, move on. They told me financially. Like they said, people love to say this. And then when you go to these same people for help, they like, hey man, I'm here for you, but hey, I got my family. So
Yeah.
there was a lack of help on that end. There was finances. There was a child involved with that individual who was young. So they're looking like at the child, like now this person's gonna be without a father. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? They had moved with the person and they were away from their home. And so the community they had built, everything that they had been built around them being in a relationship with that person.
Yeah.
And so to leave all that would take courage, and even more than that, it was going to come with a cost. It was going to come with a financial cost. It was going to come with a life change cost. And it was just something that at the time they didn't feel strong enough to do. That's not making an excuse for it, but
Yeah.
it's just so showing sometimes when somebody is well invested into a situation that is just not so cut and dry as to what we think in our mind. However, I have seen people come out of those situations who I talked to as well, but it was not without a cost. I saw them rebuild their lives, and it wasn't pretty for a long time. I
But
saw
see,
people go from $1 million houses, let's say, I'm not making this up,
yeah.
to having to have a roommate and stuff like that. Like they said the cost was worth it. But a lot of people just maybe like, let me see if I could tough this out, or let me stack my money, let me do something, as opposed to leaving right away.
Yeah.
So I'm just very, I choose compassion over anything else in these situations because it's just never cut and dry.
Yeah. And just in general, there's a price to pay regardless whether you stay or if you
Come
leave.
on. Yeah.
So you're paying. You may think that you're not, but it's still going to be a price. But it's up to those individuals at the end of the day on what they feel like they need to do. You can't really
That's
tell a
true.
person what their comfort level is. Something else that I would like to know in terms of that is like when you're married, if you're dating somebody, that's different, right? When you have
Yeah.
kids, it makes it a little more difficult. But when you're married and you have vows that you committed before God, I'm interested to know what the Bible says. Like, when can you leave? Like,
Hmm.
does it say that you should leave a person if it gets a little rough or whatever, or does it say to stay? I'm not really clear on what the Bible is saying when it comes to situations like domestic type situations. What does the Bible
Yeah.
say? Because I know that in our experience, I know our mother, she was strong on her vows.
Oh,
So
yeah.
some people believe in their vows and they want to do whatever it takes to try to stay with a marriage.
What comes up in my heart, and I'm not a theologian, but I am a believer. What comes up in my heart about that is marriage is a covenant. And when a covenant is broken, is it still covenant anyway? And that's just my way of looking at it. What type of things transgress the covenant? People stepping outside of their marriage. There are lots of different ideas on what it means to break covenant. But I look at it like this: when a marriage that is a covenant agreement between two people before God, when somebody transgresses that covenant, when that covenant is already broken, is it a marriage anyway? I could not and would not ever step in with my opinion and tell somebody, well, hey, look like he broke the covenant to me or she broke the covenant to me. So it's a good time to get out of there. Because when we take our vows before God, we take them as eternal vows. But I think that we have to understand that when we're entering into spiritual agreement, we have to look at what's been happening in the spirit of things, not how it looks in the natural, to determine if we're really and truly have that whole covenant marriage anyway.
Mm.
Like, what in the spirit has transpired? Is that covenant really still in place anyway? Or is this something that we are presenting before the public knowing that it's already been transgressed? Do I think
Mm.
I am a proponent of marriage and staying married? I also, though, know that God resides in spirit and in truth. And he knows the truth of every situation. And
Mm.
he knows if those things are really in place or if they're just in place as a formality in the natural because fear of what the public will say. I'll just leave it right there. That's just my
Yeah.
personal opinion. And I know people will be in the comments, and I feel like you should come in the comments and,
Come on.
you know, say what your opinion is. And perhaps after this airs, I'll talk to my spiritual advisors about that. But to me, what comes up is the fact that this is a covenant agreement. And
Yeah.
we got to watch things that even in the spirit transgress that.
Yeah.
Like, break that. And then we sitting up there like, but God, he's against divorce. He doesn't want, and you like kind of looking like, let's take a look at this now. Like,
Mm.
is this really still in place?
I
And this
think
is, so
I personally think that from what we've seen our ancestors do and people before us,
yeah.
I feel like people before us may have stayed too long.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the people that's coming after that generation have saw the effects of what that did to the family and are making quicker decisions. And I'm not saying which is right or wrong. People do what's best for them. But that's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
seeing. I'm seeing like back in the day, Big Mama and them used to take a lot of mess.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
granddaddy, them, Papa was a Rolling Stone, whatever. Now,
Right.
everybody's father wasn't like that. We've seen years and years of fathers not paying for their kids and all that kind of stuff and leaving everything on the mama, vice versa, whatever.
Right.
So we're not having that. So this question just came up. If someone has trauma, does that mean you should stay and help them or protect yourself and leave?
That's a
That's the
good
million
one.
dollar question right there. So you love
Yeah.
on, that's my baby, that's
Hmm.
my everything. But do I love you enough to sink with the ship? Or am I gonna get on that rowboat and
Right.
get me in mine? And how much do I love that person? Am I willing to sink? Because a lot of people stay out of empathy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think that, well, let me talk about me better than I can anybody else. This is something my pastor says. They would laugh at that. But I think with me, one thing that you have to look at is the awareness that the individual has of what they're doing. I said this a bit earlier today that everybody that we look at, that we see, has issues. Everybody. There is not a person on this planet Earth that doesn't have issues. Some people have this, that, or whatever. But the key there is we all have issues. It's personal. But what are we going to do with it? And as it relates to, are you staying or sinking with the ship? Or is this going to be a miraculous testimony? It depends on that person's view of their issue. If they don't see it as an issue, if they don't see the need for a healing journey, processing out the pain, then you're going to get more of the same.
Mm,
Like it is just no way around it. You cannot think your way out of trauma. If you could, so many people would have already done that. They already thought they could. But trauma never comes out on schedule because it's embedded in a part of your body, driven by the wound of the heart that could get revved up and triggered at any time, and your mind can't stop it. You
mm.
just said you would never hit that person again, and you just hit them. It came out of your body. It's embedded in there. So I would say, yes, the ship is sinking if there's no awareness
That's right.
that the person has an issue and that they want to get on any type of healing journey. And God is the healer. You can't heal on your own. It's
Yeah.
just impossible. Some people might say, well, I'm not religious and all that. So what about me? And I want to heal. Maybe you do therapy, you do something that is helping you to process this out. But just thinking about it is not going to change it.
Yeah.
I read a quote about that this week. Just thinking about something doesn't bring it to pass. It
That's
takes
right.
movement. So I feel like even from what I've seen in my history, did a person change after years of time? No, they were still that person. Did we change from some of our ways that trauma helped be a part of the blueprint? Yeah, but only after we came to an awareness that we needed to do something with these issues. And
Absolutely.
so sinking or miracle, it really boils down to the person and how they see their issues.
Yeah.
If they don't see it, then you could take a chance and wait on them to see it and go through their healing journey. I thank God for my husband and that he walked with me through some situations that weren't the healthiest for our marriage. My approach to things. No, it wasn't nothing physical or anything, but those microaggressions, the things people do that people don't see. Like they up there smiling, but they just said something to you in the car that's just so bad and mean, but everybody else sees the smiling person. Like those were the little things that were going on that mount up that ultimately, until I saw it, my marriage would have probably been in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
It's just a reality.
I feel you on that. It says here, when is it healthy to stay? When you can stay when there's awareness about what's
Yeah.
going on, when
Hmm.
they take accountability, not just
Yeah.
apologize, When you know
Yeah.
what's going on, you're taking accountability. Anybody can say, I'm sorry. And like you said, do the same thing again.
Mm-hmm.
And when there's actual effort to grow. So
Yeah.
we can see effort. Like Taraji, she was saying that if she saw effort and she saw a man that had effort toward getting himself right, maybe he grew up in the hood, maybe it was horrible how he grew up, but she saw the
Right.
effort, maybe that's somebody that she would choose. Now, we saw a couple of articles I know I've sent to you, and the reason why I'm asking this question is we're seeing a lot of people kill their spouses and then kill themselves or get arrested, but were these people ever the right person is what I'm trying to think back. And it's nothing that nobody can do about it at this point. But I wonder if those individuals saw the signs that maybe they should have walked away and just didn't because out of love. And
Mm-hmm.
now, unfortunately, they're not here. So it's one of
Mm-hmm.
those things that you don't really have time to overanalyze anything. It's like a feeling. You gotta, if you really feel that strongly and you pray about it, you've
Yeah.
told everybody, have a safe space,
Mm-hmm.
and people are telling you that they got you, or even if they don't have you, you have to leave in some of these cases because it's a life or death. And some, like you said, some people will never change.
Yeah. And
You
the
know,
reason
some
why
days
is because they
won't change.
can't think. Yeah, they can't. They're still relying on their mind to change the trauma that's embedded in their heart. It's not going to happen. Like, you cannot outsmart trauma. You can only process it out. It's not going to happen. We've already tried. We've already seen people try to do it. You can talk to people who've dealt with the bad effects of someone's trauma, and they will tell you some of them. This person told me they would never do this again, and all that. You can't outthink that. You can't outperform it. It's going to come out until it's processed out. And if you're willing to wait with someone and you think that that is going to be safe for you, knowing that they still have no awareness of this, they still don't think the issue is an issue, they're minimizing it, then it is almost like a game of Russian roulette. Like, in my point of view, I hate to be that just graphic about it, but we have seen the cases, and you wish you could talk to the people and say, hey, did you feel it rising to this point? Did you think it was going to get there? But in some cases, they're not here to answer that. But
Right.
we have talked to people who have told us, and we have seen in our own lives, some of us, even if it's not a romantic relationship, we have had trauma friends, like friends who just full of trauma and they do this and that. And it could be 10 years later, you don't really talk to them. You talk to somebody else like, hey, how's so and so doing? Same old. Still
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah. True.
Still
True.
on that. So if it's
And
not processed out, I don't see change. Change can't happen. It just can't.
absolutely. Healing does not have to be finished, but
Huh?
it does have to be intentional. So that's it. You should want to be a better
Yeah.
person every day. You just should. Even if you didn't go through childhood trauma, it should be
Yeah.
on your mind after a certain age that you want to get better. You want to do better.
Yep.
So you got to do the work.
And
Um,
we admit to that point that it is a choice. You feel stuff rising up in you. We
yeah,
all do. We all know when we're like, man, you way out there now. But it, as you're on more of a self-awareness, healing journey, you start to realize I don't have to choose the default.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then pretty soon, as you talk it out more in community, like y'all are part of this community. I'm happy y'all here, whoever you are, as you're listening to this. This is a part of the process. You're starting to think about this. This is building your self awareness. This is helping you not just minimize and just say, that's just the way I am. And you don't know how I grew up. And that's easy for you to say, like all these excuses you just heard is some intentionality that we could put behind it to see a real difference show up. And so,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah,
And that is where it gets tricky when they
yeah,
love you, but the behavior is inconsistent.
yeah,
What happens is you start making excuses because you
hmm,
understand their past. You know
yeah,
what they've been through. You know you riding for them. It's you and them against the world.
Yeah,
But the real truth is potential is not progress, and love without stability will drain you.
it will. And so there are some natural effects. And I know, us, we're faith people, so we talk about God a lot and how he comes in and he can be helpful. But God is also not a genie. And so for those who maybe sometimes use their faith to operate in these unhealthy behaviors and say, well, just keep praying for me. At some point, intentional processing out, recognize and admit if that's our core, even of salvation, when are we going to start doing that with the pain that's causing others pain? Recognize and admit, I can't keep doing this.
Absolutely.
Like it said there, okay, potential, but are we tapping into that? Are we on this healing journey for real? Are we going to do something about our issues for real? Or are we just going to keep talking about it?
Absolutely. So when is it time to leave? You have to leave when the trauma becomes your burden.
Mm,
You have to leave when you're constantly managing their emotions. You
mm,
have to leave when you're losing your peace trying to keep them okay.
yeah, because you can't save them. Like when we go through our different issues, like at the end of the day, people can help, but they can't save us. We have to come to the Savior. We got to lay these burdens down and we got to know it's a process. Now, can you love somebody through the process, through their process? You can. But I want you to think about it like this. If trauma is a wound of the heart, think about a physical wound. When you get physically hurt, if I cut my arm right now and I leave it untreated, we said this in our first episode, therein comes an infection that makes everything else way worse. So, say the person has this untreated heart wound and it's just making everything way worse. Until they seek treatment, nothing is going to improve, even though it looks like a good day. So, now they go seek treatment. And then they have to go to another follow-up appointment. Then they have to get the Band-Aid. It is a process. And love can work with somebody through that process. But how can we stay when you won't even take the first step toward treatment?
Mm.
Think about a cut on your arm. If you don't go to the doctor, that don't even sound logical, dude.
Nah.
But trauma is a cut on your heart. It's a heart wound. So how illogical is it for us to say, oh, I'm good now, and you never ever saw any treatment? It's just illogical. It's just not logical.
And so someone's trauma is not an excuse for your suffering. So the answer to the big question is if they're loving and respectful,
Mm-hmm.
no, you don't have to automatically leave, but you do pay attention to the consistency or lack
Mm-hmm.
thereof.
Yeah.
Love should feel safe, not confusing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my thoughts on it. And like you said, everybody's situation is different, your
Yep.
relationship more than anybody else. But you that feeling that you get like, I don't know about this one.
Yeah.
And again, you might take more chances as a single person outside your kids that you would if you were involving your kids. That's another set of issues when you involve your kids. So,
Yep.
but if you really like this person, but they toxic as all get up, but it's just something about that crazy look in their eye or something
Mm-hmm.
about them that you like, fool with them on your own. You don't have to bring the kids
Yeah,
around.
that's
That's
real.
between you and them.
Yep.
But when you start saying, I think they'll be a good father for my child, they got the edge that my son needs. He's a man. I can't teach my son how to be a man. And you make those type of choices based off of what you think the perception should be in terms of family. I wouldn't do that because it's years and years of childhood trauma that you're putting your kids under strain to try to come up out of this. I was just
That's
joking with
right.
Phyllis the other day. I was like, man, people don't want to try me because what they going to get is they going to get, what did I say, 40, 43 years of unhealed trauma on their behind. You never know what people is dealing with in their mind. So
Right.
that's why you got to ask them questions, find out what's going on with them. But people are dealing with some heavy stuff, man.
And that's
And
why
it's
we
going to take
say,
communities like these, like ours, to help
yeah.
people just one podcast at a time.
And that's why we say like healing from here. And back to what you were saying about the kids being involved, like even if you go on your own to deal with this individual, trauma can be transferred. Like how do we think it's carried from generation to generation? And so seeds are even being sown in you that got to come up somewhere. And so that's being carried by you now into a situation where your children might be and exposing them to some things that they might not have otherwise seen if you weren't dealing with that individual. But I would like to say this when it comes to your relationship, pray about that. Like, seriously, if you have a relationship with God or just wherever you are, get in a spot of prayer meditation about it. Like seriously, a quiet spot. Intuition, Holy Spirit in you, real. It's real now. Number two, seek counsel. I would say spiritual counsel, but counsel from someone who is who is balanced counsel. Somebody who is not super spiritual and somebody who's not super worldly, but somebody who's sitting right there in the middle. Like if you need to get to safety to better assess where you're going to go from here, they're going to help you say, we got to get to safety first before we talking about anything else. This thing is violent, really abusive. Let's see if we can get you somewhere safe so you can think and come up with your next move. Counsel is good, safe, sound counsel in making your decision. And finally, make a decision.
Absolutely.
You got to make a move. Like ideating ideas, things in your head, that's not what breaks any cycle. What's going to break it is you making some sort of move. But go through a process. If safety needs to be first, be safe. Like, no, I would just never sit up here and be like, hey, just tough it out, ride it out. You're going to figure it. Get in a place of safety and then really prayer, counsel, and make your move. God is gracious. So don't worry about, I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to hurt God. God loves you. He loved you before they ever did. He loved you before you knew what love was. And so God is not going to stop loving you because you made a decision that you felt was going to keep you safe and you felt that was better for your life because you were hurting, that you felt was key to your healing journey. So don't ever think that either. And my final comment is remember healing is not linear. So it's not like A, B, C, D, E, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Somebody might go A, B, C, negative A, B, D, negative B, but they're still on the journey. That's what my brother was saying. Consistency. Are they still on the journey? If they are, you're going to see some results. Even though it may look, I thought you was on the healing journey today. Watch their consistency. Watch their awareness. Watch what they doing with their issues and not minimizing. Watch how they bringing God in. Watch how they changing their circle. Watch the consistency. Know that it's not linear. And if the love is there and you can walk with them through the process in safety, sound, peace of mind, peace of God, like you feel a peace about it, then yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
But that's what I have to say about it. That's my opinion.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All of this is great advice, man. I hope that you guys use this and this isn't just a case study. This is something that we're practicing as we're talking to you guys. So this helps. At least it gets the conversation started. I do know that God can change people. He can change people. Like, so he can change people's hearts, but sometimes you need that separation too to create change because sometimes the individuals need to see that because of their actions, there's a consequence to it. Unfortunately, in our case, we didn't, the people that were at hand or the people that were responsible, they didn't really see any consequences per se. They saw them, but it's when they start seeing people leave from around them. But in terms of doing jail time, taking any classes, a lot of people didn't have any consequences for their actions. But once you
Hmm.
do, then people start thinking differently. And that's just the bottom line.
Yep.
Yeah.
And even then, remember, because somebody on here could be on the other end of being the aggressor, being the one with the trauma who's causing all the pain and all of that. Healing from here. Now is a good time. Now is a good time to get started, to bring your pain to God. Now is a good time to get on your journey, to pray to be more self aware, pray to be shown where you're hurting people. Like, now is a better time than ever to start your healing journey.
That's right.
And not just to win a prize. Oh, let me start healing before this person leaves. No, heal for you. Because if you don't, you'll never be the person that they're praying for you to be. It just won't happen. You got to be the person who's praying for you to be better.
And you can
So,
easily
yeah.
turn into the person that you were villainizing. That will and can become you
No,
if
yeah.
you don't get that healing. So that's usually what happens.
Yeah,
Great
for
show.
sure. Oh my God. Like, I could go on and on. I love love. Many
Yes.
of you do. And love is good when love is good. And love is hard when love is hard. But I love love. And it's created for us to be, we were created to be in healthy relationships, to be in community, for family, not to be isolated. But there's suffering in the world. There's evil in the world. These things are in the world.
That's
So pain has come to us,
Yep.
but we can heal from here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, great show. Until the next time, sis.
Oh my God. We'll see y'all later. I hope I didn't preach too much. Put in
Nah.
the comments if y'all think I preached too much. Just say, hey, yeah, maybe you preached too much, but maybe not. But yeah, let us know in the comments. And if there's a topic you want us to talk about, we would love to do that. And we really love you. We do this because
Yes.
we love and believe that healing can happen.
And this is our
Yeah.
second season. We're on our second. This is the first
Oh my
episode of
God.
our second season. So
Hey.
yes. So congratulations.
Yeah. New look, new season. All right. So until next time, y'all.
All right.
Yeah.
One love.
God, won't he do it? This is my story. What's your story? Turn the camera on you and tell your story. He brought you to it, can bring you through it. He had his hands on my life. God, won't he do it?